Chapter 1. The Call from the Forbidden Zone. In the deepest level of the Drahmora Mine, where light never reached and rules faded with the dust of stone, Kael slipped away from his shift to explore a forbidden crevice. The 16-year-old boy, with unkempt black hair and eyes that looked like they were resisting the world, had heard whispers in the workers' camp. Those who entered the crack never returned. But Kael wasn't afraid. He was too familiar with the dark. A dim flashlight beam grazed mossy rock walls. A strange, icy wind blew from deep within the earth, not natural wind, but more like the breath of something ancient. For a moment, Kael paused. Amid the rubble, he spotted a metallic glimmer, round like a ball but coated in the dust of ages. As he stepped closer, the dust seemed to scatter on its own, revealing a metal sphere etched with vein-like patterns, and at its center, a 7-pointed star. Kael's hand trembled, but instead of recoiling, he reached out and touched it. Instantly, a surge of brilliant blue light burst out, spreading like a shockwave. Kael's body was lifted into the air for a few seconds. When he fell back down, 7 tiny sigils had been burned into the back of his left hand, 7 glowing stars. Something inside him felt different, as if he could hear the stone shift, sense the movement of air before it arrived. His heart pounded, and in his hand the strange orb now felt light, like part of him. In the distance, a siren wailed. The guards had detected the energy surge. No time to think. Kael clutched the orb and ran back toward the tunnel, but it had collapsed. He turned and bolted deeper into the earth, into places no one had ever gone. The darkness was thick, but to him now, every step felt lit by an unseen path. Ahead, a massive stone door emerged from the shadows. On its surface were symbols identical to those etched into his hand. When he touched it, the door opened, silently, effortlessly, as if it had been waiting for him. Beyond the door lay a spiral corridor of metal and stone, descending to a place not of this world. And at the end of the path, Kael saw a faint red glow, the glow of a buried stadium, a place erased from maps, but still alive in the memory of those who once believed in legends. Kael stepped forward, unaware that his life and the fate of the world had just entered a new chapter. Chapter 2. The Chase in the Dark. Icy air pricked his skin as Kael sprinted through the ancient tunnel, heart pounding. Behind him, the clang of armored footsteps echoed. Order forces were closing in. He didn't know what the orb was, or why his body was reacting so strangely. But he knew one thing. If he got caught, there'd be no second chance. Stop! Immediately, a sharp voice barked through a loudspeaker, followed by blinding searchlights slicing through the dark. Kael dove into a side passage just in time. A streak of plasma shot past, incinerating stone behind him. Darkness swallowed him, but now Kael could feel everything with eerie clarity. He didn't need light to see the path. His feet knew the way, as if his body remembered this terrain from another life. He ducked into a low crevice, slipping through a gap barely wide enough for one person. A hand almost caught his jacket. Too late. He slid down a hidden slope, dropping several meters before hitting a metal floor with a hard thud. He groaned. Eyes opened. In front of him stood an ancient rusted gate, still proud against the rock. Upon it were old symbols: Field of the Ball, Forbidden Zone. No choice. Kael reached out. Once again the stars on his hand flared, and the gate creaked open. Inside was a vast hall, lit by a red glow from above, illuminating an ancient football field, unlike any he'd seen. The center circle was cracked, the goalposts forged of black alloy, and the air was thick like mist, yet warm, inviting him in. Behind him, the gate slammed shut. Kael stood. It was time to face destiny. Chapter 3. The Old Guardian. Kael took his first steps onto the ancient field, the ground feeling like memory beneath his feet. There was no grass, only smooth earth like glass, reflecting his silhouette. He wasn't alone. A slow, deliberate tapping echoed through the space. From the collapsed stands, a figure emerged. An old man with wild silver hair, a dusty gray cloak, and a crooked staff like a dried root. His eyes glowed faintly, not menacing, but filled with aching resolve. "You're the one who awakened this field," he asked, voice gravelly and low like aged stone. Kael nodded, cautious. "I am Harkon, keeper of this field. And now, it seems I must begin again." He pointed to the orb in Kael's hand. "That's the Astra orb, belongs to the 7 stars. And you, though you don't know it yet, have activated something dynasties died trying to bury." Kael hesitated. "I just found it." I wasn't trying to. No need to try. The orb chose you. Harkon gestured. The field lit up, revealing holographic images, ancient matches, twisted players with burning eyes competing on blood-red soil. Once, AstraBall wasn't just a game, it was war in the form of sport. Nations competed for true power. Then came the football wars. The last seven, the 7 stars, buried everything. Harkon stared into Kael's eyes. You are either the world's last hope or its ruin. He approached and placed a hand over Kael's marked skin. The stars glowed again. I will train you, if you're willing to endure. Kael gripped the orb tighter. I didn't come here to run. Harkon gave a faint smile. Then let us begin. Chapter 4. The Buried Training Ground. The first training session didn't begin with physical drills, but with an ancient ritual. Harkon led Kael into a small chamber deep beneath the field school, a place once known as the Dimensional Training Ground. The walls shimmered with luminescent crystals embedded in stone, casting a dreamlike glow across the room. In the center, a larger orb, an astral model of the Astra orb, hovered motionless in midair. To understand the orb, Harkon said, you must first let it understand you. He gestured and Kael stepped closer. The moment he touched the model, his consciousness was yanked into another world, a red desert, where hundreds of armored players battled fiercely with glowing orbs, a chaotic sport without rules. These weren't just memories. They were the orb's memories. Kael staggered back into reality, drenched in sweat, but his eyes now gleamed with a new light. I saw them. The way they moved, the way they used the orb like it was part of their own body. Harkon nodded. Now it's your turn. The training ground shifted. The earth trembled, forming pillars, flame traps, and zones of reversed gravity. Kael had to navigate them all while controlling the orb. Every misstep triggered a burst of electric shock, but pain only made him learn faster. His body adapted, reacting in harmony with the ball. By the end of the session, Harkon murmured to himself, this boy, he's the true piece. On the far wall, the 7 stars rotated silently around the orb. A new chapter was being written, etched in sweat, fire, and a single glowing ball. Chapter 5. The Skill Orb, First Flame. 3 days had passed since Kael entered the Dimensional Training Ground. Each day had been a mountain to climb. His body ached from relentless training, but the light in his eyes only burned brighter. Harkon wasn't teaching him how to play soccer, not in the ordinary sense. He was teaching him how to feel, connect, and resonate with the orb. I still don't get it, Kael gasped after one exhausting session. It's just a ball. Why does it take so much? Because it's not just a ball, Harkon replied, drawing a circle in the air. Light burst from his fingertip, forming a spinning hologram of a glowing orb rotating around a core of energy. This is a skill orb, one of 7 types in existence. Each one carries an element, a power, and a curse. Kael fell silent. You're holding the flame orb, the beginning. It is life, but it is also destruction. After the activation ritual, the orb in Kael's hand began to change. It radiated heat and every touch singed his skin. Harkon brought him to a new training zone, a compact arena within a crater where real fire surged from cracks in the ground. First trial, control the flame without being consumed, Harkon said calmly. The orb responds to emotion. Fear and it explodes, resolve and it obeys. Kael swallowed hard, dribbling the orb into the field. Instantly, heat blanketed the space. Every step cracked the surface, and the ball trembled like a living creature. A stray ember seared across Kael's cheek. He didn't back down. He trained for 7 hours without rest. Each failure left him with burns, bruises, and hard falls, but each was also a step forward. By sunset, when the red sky bled into the arena, Kael stood tall, and the orb lay still at his feet, no longer quivering. Harkon smiled faintly. The first flame has accepted you. That night dreamed of fire, not of destruction, but a small, warm flame burning in the palm of his hand. When he awoke, the orb glowed softly orange, and a new symbol, a stylized flame, had appeared on the 2nd star mark on his hand. A skill had awakened, and it was the sign that greater trials were coming. Chapter 6. The Spatial Arena, Trial by Fire. The sky above Astra City turned a deep violet as Kael followed Harkon toward a spiral gate emerging from nothingness. On the other side stood a colossal stadium, spanning dozens of kilometers, with floating stands and spiraling energy tracks. The Spatial Arena. the proving ground where every AstraBall warrior faced their first true trial. This isn't a normal match, Harkon warned. This is a test, a battle, a rite. Kael nodded. His heart pounded, the orb glowing with flickering flames at his feet. A gate across the field opened, and out stepped a boy his age, silver-haired and ice-eyed. His name was Silas, Ice-type warrior and top Northern Division recruit. The referee appeared, an automaton controlled by the central system. Its voice echoed with emotionless precision. Match rules, one-on-one. The loser is the one who fails to maintain control of their orb or is forced out of bounds. The whistle blew. In a flash, Silas launched a curved kick that froze the ground. Kael sidestepped, letting the fire in his orb melt the ice trail before losing balance. He recovered quickly and spun, delivering his first flame-powered kick. The ball ignited and spiraled towards Silas, but the ice warrior raised his leg, calmly executing a move called Frost Reversal. The fire dispersed, congealing into a blade of ice. He counterattacked. Kael hit the ground hard, shoulder bleeding, but his eyes blazed undimmed. He rose. The orb vibrated fiercely. Then, for the first time, fire erupted without command. The flame sigil on his hand shone bright. Skill awakened, Phoenix Blaze kick. Flames engulfed Kael's body. With a roar, he leapt into the air, spinning mid-flight, unleashing a fire-laced strike that sliced through the field. Boom! The entire ice layer melted. Silas was thrown from the field boundary. The referee confirmed. Winner, Kael of the Southern Axis. Harkon gave a quiet nod of approval, but Kael knew this was only the beginning. Above them, from an unseen command deck, eyes watched. Some with admiration, others with deadly intent.